Hi, welcome to SBF4 Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is the Line Moves show that we do every Friday with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Last week was the wild card round of the playoffs, and we skipped the show last week. There wasn't much line movement, wasn't much to talk about. This week, though, for the divisional round of the playoffs, there's been a lot of line movement, a lot of interesting lines, and a lot of stuff that we'll get Joe's input on. Joe, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Peter. Let's make some more money this weekend.
Yes, let's make some more money. Before we get into it, give a quick plug for your website, which you've definitely earned. 27-17 against the spread in our videos. Great record at your site. You've earned it. Give a plug.
It is. We had a good of a bowl season as we've had in a while. We've had quite a few bowl seasons that have been tremendous. But anyway, we're winning in all sports. OffshoreInsiders.com. Visit us for basketball and football winners. Been around since the 1988 Scorephone days.
Okay, sounds great. All right, let's get into the lines and the line movement now. Only 4 games. There's been a lot of interesting movement. Let's start right off with the Seattle game, right, with the total. Now, when I previewed that game with you, I told you guys that I like the under, and I bet it at 48 on the opening. And now it's all the way down to 45, and the Chris books have it at 44.5. Now, of course, that's at least partially due to the weather report, right? It's a 98% chance of thunderstorms. There's even supposed to be winds of 25 to 30 kilometers. So, that's what's caused the recent movement. You guys gave the opinion, you and Stephen O, and I trust you both completely, gave the opinion that, Seattle has a more explosive offense than their reputation gives them credit for, and that might be true, but, combined with the weather and the playoff atmosphere, I think I'm right here. I think the under 48 was a great bet. I'd still take it at 45. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think I probably said that Seattle has a better offense, not necessarily more explosive, and that there is a difference there, especially when it comes to handicapping the sides. But no, I wouldn't say it's partially because of the weather. It is almost all because of the weather. In fact, I have to go back to my old college radio days. It showers, and they're expecting the south to southwest winds 22 to 25 miles per hour, and the chance of rain is 100%. Now, remember our golden rule when it comes to weather. Rain with low winds. If the total drops artificially, it's good for the over. But this is a case where the winds are supposed to be very heavy. In fact, I know they sent out some tweets today where they were tying down the goalpost. That's how bad the wind was today. And the wind is supposed to be pretty much almost as bad at game time. And yeah, once you get up to 22 to 25 miles per hour, that is extremely significant as far as the total is concerned, especially with the Saints team that likes to throw the ball.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about this a little more then, because during the regular season, we saw a lot of games with really bad weather, with big winds, where the line came crashing down. You remember the game in Chicago? There were a lot of games. Game in Philadelphia, a lot of games like that. The lines came crashing down, but the games wound up being high scoring and actually going over the total. So, a lot of people, I'm sure, have that still in their memory. I feel, though, that in the playoffs, teams are already kind of leaning towards playing conservatively to begin with. Then when you throw in bad weather, I think it has a synergistic effect. I think that even at 45, the under is going to be a good bet in this game.
Yeah, no, I know like the Philadelphia-Detroit game, there was a lot of snow, but the wind wasn't all that horrific. As I said, yeah, once you're starting getting the 25 miles an hour, the wind is very significant. Yeah, I would agree with you in that New Orleans is really going to have to change their game plan, not only with the crowd noise, which we know is literally at record decibel levels, but with winds that, I don't care how good you are, a quarterback, it is tough dealing with winds that high. I think it'll truly affect the Saints a whole heck of a lot more, and I do think that every sharp player has to very much consider how that's going to disrupt the game plan. And even with the total dropping, if these weather reports are accurate insofar as the wind speed, I would agree it would make the under an even stronger play.
All right, and then let's talk about the Indy-New England game, right? Similar situation. The line was like 53. You said in our video that you like the under, and that was your pick. Now it's down to a 51 or 51.5, and I assume that's the same reasons, right? There is also decent winds and rain on the forecast.
Yes, and in fact, I checked the hour by hour both for the National Weather Service and AccuWeather. So I'm going to predict some line moves here that the consensus weather report says it's going to be very windy during the day before game time. I do think that once word gets out, a lot of gamblers, the public's going to panic and say, oh, the winds are extremely high and start betting it under, but the winds are supposed to die down and be much more reasonable at game time. So I believe that the total will drop during the day and then before kickoff will go back up. So keep that in mind. If you want to bet the over, you're probably going to get a pretty good total about 2-3 hours, maybe 4 hours before game time. And there might be a middle opportunity here because I do think the winds are going to die down a little bit before kickoff and the total will go back up.
Right, that's interesting. I mean, when we previewed this game, you said that you like the under a bit. You said you do expect to be high scoring, like in the upper 40s, but that you like the under at 53. So as it stands right now, with the total at 51, you're expecting, the line to come down and then maybe go back up, and for the weather not to be that bad at game time. Do you want to revise your lean on that game?
Well, I would say a lot of people like to middle-itters. We like to say bet middler. So if you were able to get the under at 53 and the total drops to say like 49 during the day when the winds are sky high, that would be a pretty darn good middle opportunity. But no, I would say that, again, if you haven't bet the under yet and you want to bet the under, probably close to game time when the winds are expected to die down. That is the time to do it because often the art of winning and gambling is shopping for lines as much as it is handicapping the games correctly.
Right, and it is also worth noting that both Penny and the Greek, the whole market has them at 51. Penny and the Greek both have 51.5, so that's pretty telling. And Penny and the Greek having off-market numbers are coming to play in the next two games on the spread that I want to discuss so you get your take on it. San Francisco, Carolina, there's been a ton of line movement in this game and a ton of disagreement among the experts. I mean, I previewed this game, I think, with like 4 or 5 guys. 2 or 3 of them said they loved San Francisco. 2 or 3 of them said they loved Carolina. Right now, market-wide, it's settled at Carolina +1, but the Greek has Carolina -1, and even Pinnacle has the game still at pick'em. So that says to me that the Greek and Pinnacle both have a bit of a Carolina lean here.
Now they do, and keep in mind also the whole Steve Smith injury situation. As far as key players are concerned, Steve Smith, his own words, I think Wednesday he said he was 75%, and then he was very limited in practice on Thursday, and he said he was only going to be 57%. And Smith is, a veteran. It takes your body a little bit of time to recover. So I think just the Steve Smith injury alone, without question, is going to affect the line. But I know the media has been talking so much about how San Francisco, when they lost to Carolina earlier this year, it was a very close game, that they were without Crabtree, and then Davis left the game before halftime with a concussion. So I think that's convinced a lot of the public maybe to bet on San Francisco. But this line will move, and I think it's going to move directly based on how the Steve Smith injury report, is updated.
Really? You think just Steve Smith is going to have that much of an effect on the line?
Well, Steve Smith, the key to gambling is look for every little edge. And as far as the handicapping's already been done, so what can legitimately move the line right now? Yes, the injury status of a key player very much can do that.
All right, so if we see the same situation, though, at game time, where, the line hasn't moved much, it's right around pick'em, but the Greek and Pinnacle both appear to have a lean towards Carolina, you think that implies that Carolina might be a side with value?
Yeah, the Pinnacle lean, I like to use that in college basketball a lot. With the NFL, it's a little bit tougher, but you are right that when you're making a statement in the NFL, that's even bigger because of the amount of line that is on it. Yeah, the Pinnacle lean I always use for corroboration, not so much to convince me of a play, and I don't use that to talk me out of a side, but you're right that Pinnacle is a very good way to judge where the sharp money is going.
But like I said here, it's not just Pinnacle, it's Pinnacle and the Greek together.
Yeah, no, and I do think that this line is going to change drastically. The perception, no question, is that San Francisco is the better team, and they probably are the better team overall, but as we discussed before, the whole travel situation where they're playing at 10 a.m., the scheduling definitely benefits Carolina. So I think that's really the case where some sharp people are saying San Francisco is the better team, but there are some sharp people that are saying, you know what, the actual scheduling dichotomy really is benefiting Carolina here, and I can see why there is a split of opinion.
All right, and then the last game, Denver, San Diego, that line opened at 10. Now it's solidly on 9, but again, the Greek and Pinnacle have slightly off-market numbers. Greek is at 9.5, and Penny's at 10 with positive odds, but that implies that at least right now, at this moment, both the Greek and the Penny are leaning Denver, even though the line has come down to 9.
Yeah, no, and again, once you go up to 10, that is very significant. The difference between 9.5 and 10 is much bigger than the difference between 9 and 9.5. And I think that's smart of Pinnacle because the public money, of course, they're going to bet on Denver. Denver is clearly perceived to be the much better team, and they are the much better team. And as far as the public money, Still think they are going to get with the Broncos. It's not as easy to predict as during the regular season when you have a clear-cut mismatch. Also, the weather's not that bad. Some people were concerned. It's interesting where the more Denver-like weather, a lot of people were wondering if that would negatively affect Peyton Manning because he hasn't played out in the cold weather all that much. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic here where, if anything, that the public might actually think that if it were cold and windy, that could hurt the home team, Denver. But I think all in all, Pinnacle is pretty smart in anticipating that the public, the Joey Bag of Donuts, is going to bet on the Broncos.
All right, will definitely be an interesting weekend of football. I'm very interested to see how this turns out, which cappers in the end get proven right and which get proven wrong. But all year long, you, Joe Duffy, have been proven very, very right in our videos. Thanks so much. Talk to you again next week.
All right, thank you. And everybody, check the weather reports before game time.